Hello everybody. So this video is entitled MSTR stock not so dead after all. We are bouncing back today. Did the FUD lose? Is the FUD losing? Is the argument of the FUDsters becoming a little, lesser quality? Well, probably. I'll get to that in a second. I also want to talk about Stretch a little bit. Yes, let's begin with the FUD. The same Bitcoin Maxi who's turned anti-strategy as of last week, is literally quintupling, sextupling down right now. I don't know, but it seems like 2 anti-strategy videos a day. And when you have many hundreds of thousands of followers, unfortunately, that can have an impact on sentiment. Looks like that YouTuber found out that MSTR is rewarded by the YouTube algorithm. That's why I cover it. The YouTube algorithm helps you cover stocks that people like. People like MSTR. And so that's it's a double-edged sword. It's unfortunate because if you're a bear, you're going to be like, okay, well, I made a good video because my video got amplified by YouTube because I talk about MSTR, even if you're a bear, right? So anyways, that's what's going on. And it's hurting the stock. It's not helping the stock, unfortunately. But today we did very well. Today, Bitcoin was up 64,500, and we unfortunately lost about $1,000 throughout the trading day. But MSTR held up really well, and we're up 3% today, back above 120. Thank goodness. It's a beautiful thing. And then STRC was selling off throughout the day, and I have a theory for that. As SpaceX stock got cheaper as we got towards the end of the day, towards the close, for some reason, STRC sold off. We gotta know that STRC is held as cash by a lot of people who are interested in these assets. A lot of people who would be interested in buying the SpaceX IPO or some NVIDIA or some AI stock. They park their cash in assets like STRC. STRC dropped very little relatively to a lot of other stocks right now, and it dropped less, by the way. Over the past 3 weeks, it dropped less than what SpaceX IPO peaked at today and closed toward the end of the day. It dropped less, so it made sense. Going back also to the YouTuber here, I wanted to say that I should have said that earlier in the video. My theory is if you attack someone's looks, voice, mannerism, the way you speak, you've already lost the argument to me, because you should attack the ideas. You should not attack people's looks. And that Maxi, who's doing these anti-strategy videos, calls them suit coiners. That's a new term, a suit coiner. So I didn't know there was an official Bitcoin style. What's the Bitcoin style? What's the official Bitcoin style? Apparently, a suit is not welcome by Bitcoin Maxis. And I think it's ridiculous when you start criticizing people based on their looks. It means you don't have an argument on substance. Like, the substance is not there. The substance is really not there. At least that's my take. So now let's talk about what's important today. Today, of course, what's important is the BTC Prague interview dropping. The Bitcoin for Corporation interview dropping. The two, TradFi would have you think that these two CEOs are competitors. I've always made the case. You're more co-opetition, even a cooperation if they were to copy each other, than you are competition in this case. Because in this case, when you buy Bitcoin, when your competitor, quote unquote, is winning, your competitor is helping you win even more because you're all generating a Bitcoin yield. Everybody is generating a network level yield. As I told in my video yesterday, if altogether they remove 1 million coins from circulation, that's nearly a 5% yield for everybody on the network, because you removed 1 out of 21 million coins forever from the network. So anybody who buys Bitcoin generates a network level yield. And so that's why they cheer on each other and they support each other, and they probably should. And that's why Bitcoin for Corporation was created. That's also why Saylor created the playbook and is telling everybody, copy me, because that benefits everybody. MetaPlanet today also joining something new, buying a securities issuer, a corporate bond, online corporate bond issuer. And of course, we know MetaPlanet is going to get into that as well. Although Metaplanet, because of Japan, has had to move very slow. They've been much slower to move than a lot of these other players. Saylor, in that interview, not backing away from any of the criticism, actually addressing head-on so many of the criticism, including MNAV. He addressed that head-on in the interview, including the opportunities, the 10,000 opportunities that could be built on Bitcoin. He's focusing on digital credit. He may focus on more things in the future. In that interview, also interesting, quoting JP Morgan, and then quoting himself, kind of a wink to the crowd here. JP Morgan said, gold is money, everything else is credit. And then he said, 200 years ago, Michael Saylor said, Bitcoin is money, everything else is credit. Kind of comparing himself to JP Morgan, which I think is very interesting. And the long-term thinkers of strategy will tell you that eventually that company should become a bank. Eventually that company will become very close to a bank. There's a lot of applications that you can do with Bitcoin. Of course, digital credit, that's the one Saylor is going after. I love it. I think another opportunity would be Bitcoin insurance, like creating, say, an insurance company that instead of investing the float in corporate bonds, instead of investing that float in bonds or in commercial paper or in government bonds, I would like to see an insurance company just take the premiums for your home insurance and put that into Bitcoin. And over time, you could create something relatively stable and a relatively smooth increase in the float of the company while still providing insurance products. And there's more, of course. You have payments, you have trading platforms. There are so many things that you can build on with Bitcoin. Saylor just decided to build digital credit, and it is building something. It's not just financial engineering, as some people claim. It is actually building something with AI, and it's brand new. And of course, because it's brand new, it's fully criticized. This right there, I just put in there, that's the chart of SpaceX. You can see pretty much after it peaked, like within an hour of being public, it was nothing but down. And so I think if you overlay the SpaceX chart to the end of the day for Stretch, I think some people may have sold Stretch to buy SpaceX. Makes a lot of sense to me. I actually see people on social media who have parked a portion of their cash in Stretch. And Stretch, when there's an opportunity like SpaceX, Stretch always looks like a good candidate for you to sell. And this is why we have these DPEGs, these drops from 100. This is not the first time we dropped from 100. You may remember before Christmas 2025, there was a longer period where we also depegged from 100 after having a few successful weeks. Of course, in February 2026, we depegged. Now, you may remember February 2026, the price of Bitcoin bounced really quickly. You can actually see it in the IBIT chart. This is the proxy I use. I use the IBIT chart because it's the same market hours as strategy in my video, so I use IBIT. But you can see the February 2026 spike. We went all the way low, and we bounced right back. And because we bounced right back, Stretch also bounced right back to 100. This is definitely not the case of this dump in Bitcoin. We went all the way down. We didn't bounce right back. We didn't have a sharp bounce back. We're still some sort of in a value of despair. Bitcoin is stablecoin mode, trading around 63,000. The collateral took a major hit, right? The collateral dropped 30%. So it makes sense for Stretch to depeg, and maybe it could be depegged for a month or two. But as Saylor points out in this video, if you had bought STRC 6 months ago, you would be down 4.3%, but you would have collected nearly 6% in dividends. So you would actually be up something like 2%. Versus Bitcoin on the same period, exactly 6 months, Bitcoin being down 29%. And if you go further out, and if you go back to 1010 and you nitpick, it's 50% against 2% up, right? And of course, if you go from the moment the instrument was introduced, from the moment STRC was first introduced, STRC is well into the positive, actually outperforming a lot of assets right now. And so it's important to zoom out. And the bears are having a field day right now because we've been depegged for, a long week, I would say. We've been depegged for a little more than a week, 2 weeks, right? It's annoying. But in my view, it will get back. The problem is the macro. The macro is very bad. Bitcoin is very, very weak. We've cleared a hurdle with SpaceX today, and I think the market is going to be all about FOMC next week. Hopefully, we get a dovish chair at the speech on Wednesday, hopefully. And more importantly, we need the Middle East situation to be resolved. Kobeissi letter here reporting 3 hours ago that we're closer to a deal than we've ever been. Now, of course, every week they've told us we're closer to a deal than we've ever been. So at this point, I think the next leg up will happen when the market actually sees some signing of this deal. And when that happens, I think that's going to be very bullish for stocks, and that's going to be very bullish for risk assets, bullish for Bitcoin, bullish for strategy. You will also note we're still in extreme fear on Bitcoin, but we are slightly bouncing back. And my guess is that we'll get back to neutral at some point, probably when that deal gets signed. So as far as I'm concerned, everything is working as intended. If one is unhappy with the performance of strategy or stretch, one should really be yelling at Bitcoin and complain about Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin's issue. This is not strategy's issue. It's Bitcoin's issue. And strategy was always not good and do well. Strategy cannot do well if Bitcoin doesn't do well. It's a prereq for Bitcoin to do well. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. No financial advice. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.